A man demanded a full refund for a product he destroyed, claiming, "I can do whatever I want here." When I denied his request, he smashed the display and yelled, "I'll shut this place down." Police arrived just as I said. Hope you enjoy explaining that to them. I work at a small, independently owned electronics shop in downtown Chicago, not too far from the West Loop. We sell phones, tablets, accessories, basic laptops, stuff like that. The store's been around for over a decade. We're not a chain. We're local. People come in all the time, usually for repairs, upgrades, or to buy refurbished gear. We have loyal customers and also a few people who think we're an easy target. It was a Tuesday afternoon. Slow day. I was behind the counter doing inventory checks when this guy walks in. Late 40s, maybe early 50s. Heavy set, about 6 feet tall, angry right from the moment the door closed behind him. Wore a stretched-out hoodie, stained jeans, and beat-up sneakers. His eyes were bloodshot, and he walked like he was pissed off at the sidewalk itself. He marched straight to the counter and slammed a box down in front of me. The kind of slam that's not just loud but meant to intimidate. "This thing's garbage. I want my money back," he snapped. I looked down. It was one of the tablets we sold, refurbished, clearly marked on the receipt that it was final sale, no refunds for physical damage. The box he brought it in wasn't even the one we gave him. This one was half-ripped, duct-taped around the edges, and looked like it had been stuffed in the trunk of a car for a week. I stayed calm, tried not to match his tone. "Okay, let me take a look at it." He pulled the tablet out and shoved it across the counter. The screen was completely destroyed, spiderweb cracks from corner to corner, huge dents in the frame, a small piece of glass missing from the top. Honestly, it looked like it had been dropped from a balcony or thrown out of a moving car. "Sir, this is physical damage. Our policy doesn't cover this." He stared at me like I'd just insulted his entire family. "I didn't break it. It came like this." I didn't argue right away. I just picked it up carefully and pointed out the damage. We inspect every product before it leaves the store. This tablet wasn't in this condition when you bought it. I remember selling this exact one. It had a minor scuff on the back, nothing like this. He leaned in across the counter, breathing heavy. "You saying I broke it?" "I'm saying we don't refund for damage that happens after purchase." His eyes went wide. He raised his voice. "I can do whatever I want here. I'm a paying customer. I bought this here. You're gonna give me my money back. Now." I shook my head. "That's not how this works." That was all it took. He reached behind him and grabbed one of the display phones, an old Samsung we had set up with demo mode. Before I could stop him, he smashed it on the floor. Hard. It cracked, then bounced once, then slid under a shelf. "How about that? You gonna refund that one too?" he screamed. A customer who had just walked in turned around and walked right back out. He wasn't done. He started yelling louder, waving his arms, pacing back and forth in front of the counter like a caged dog. "I'll shut this place down. I'll call the health department, the BBB, I'll get my lawyer, I'll ruin you." At this point, I was done trying to reason with him. I pressed the emergency contact button under the counter. It goes straight to the local precinct just 2 blocks down. We'd had to use it before, and the response time is usually pretty fast. The guy kept ranting. Knocked over a rack of phone cases, then kicked a small stool we used behind the desk. He was mumbling now, too, stuff about idiots in retail and how nobody respects customers anymore. Then he tried to reach behind the counter. That's when I stepped back and said, "Hope you enjoy explaining that to the cops." His eyes widened for a second, just long enough for me to know he understood he screwed up. But he didn't stop. He started shouting about how it was all a setup, that I provoked him, that he was going to sue me into the ground. Same recycled threats I've heard before, just louder and way more aggressive. I kept my eyes on him but didn't say anything else. Didn't have to. Moments later, the bell rang again, and this time it wasn't a customer. 2 CPD officers walked in, calm and steady, like they already knew what they were walking into. They looked at the shattered phone, the knocked-over displays, the destroyed tablet, and the wild-eyed man still yelling at me from 3 feet away. One of the officers held up a hand. "Sir, we need you to step back from the counter." He paused, just long enough to consider running, maybe. But then he turned to them and said, "This is all his fault." He refused to give me a refund. The other officer looked over at me. "You the manager?" "Yeah." "The camera saw everything," I said, pointing up at the dome camera in the ceiling. The man kept yelling, "That's illegal. You can't record me. This is harassment. I paid for that tablet. I'll burn this place down." The officers moved in and gently but firmly told him to sit down on the bench near the door. He refused. "Sir, sit down." He didn't. Instead, he yelled, "I'm not going anywhere until I get my refund." That's when they cuffed him. No struggle. Just him still yelling about how he'd own this place once his lawyer got involved. They walked him out while he kept turning his head back to scream more nonsense. I stayed behind the counter and waited until they were gone. But that wasn't the end. Not even close. The moment the door shut behind the cops and that lunatic, I locked it. Flipped the sign to closed. I wasn't in the mood for anything else that day. I texted my boss a quick rundown of what happened. He just replied with, "Send the footage. I'll deal with it." I spent the next hour cleaning up the mess. Glass shards, phone cases on the floor, one of the shelves bent from where the guy knocked it. The tablet he brought in? Still on the counter like a warning sign. I tossed it in the back room. Thought that was the worst of it. It wasn't. Next morning, I opened the store early. Still feeling a little wired from yesterday. I brought coffee from the shop across the street, unlocked the door, turned on the lights, and got to work. About 20 minutes in, I noticed a car parked out front. Beat-up Dodge Charger, dark tint. Just sitting there. Didn't think much of it until I realized it was the same car that angry dude had pulled up in the day before. I froze. Just stared at it through the front window. He didn't get out. Didn't even turn off the engine. Just sat there. Staring. I called the cops again, gave them the rundown. He's not doing anything yet, but he's parked out front after being removed by force yesterday. They said they'd send someone to check it out. 10 minutes later, he pulled away. Didn't see him again that day. Then the calls started. First it was a customer calling to complain about how rude I was. That I assaulted a man and stole his property. Next day, another call. This time from someone pretending to be with the Better Business Bureau, asking about our policies and trying to catch me saying something wrong. The day after that, fake 1-star reviews hit our Google listing. All of them written in the same weird tone. Stuff like, "Employee threatened me with a knife over a charger refund. Avoid this shady shop. They steal customer data and sell it online. Do not buy here. Manager physically assaulted a disabled veteran and left." My boss emailed me, "Do you know what's going on?" I explained. He already guessed it was connected. He called a lawyer. We contacted Google, flagged the reviews, filed complaints. It didn't stop. One day, a guy showed up pretending to be with the fire department. Claimed he was doing a surprise inspection. No ID. Nothing official. Just a clipboard and a scowl. I asked for credentials. He got flustered and walked out fast. 2 hours later, a health inspector came by. This time, real ID, real inspection. We passed, barely. Someone had filed a complaint saying we were storing flammable chemicals near food, which made no sense. We don't sell food. Inspector said, "Probably a prank, but I have to follow it up." It kept building. Slower, creepier. We started getting weird packages. One was an empty box with nothing inside but a dead mouse. Another had broken glass wrapped in bubble wrap. No return address. My nerves were shot. Boss installed 2 more cameras. One in the back alley, one in the front window pointing at the sidewalk. He didn't say it, but we both knew who it was. Then one night, it escalated. It was late. I'd stayed after closing to do some inventory. Just me in the store. Around 8 p.m., I stepped outside to toss some trash in the dumpster behind the building. That's when I saw him. He was standing at the far end of the alley. Hoodie pulled up. Just watching. Didn't move. Didn't say anything. I turned back inside, locked the door, and went straight to the monitor feed. Rewound the camera. He'd been out there for almost 10 minutes. Just standing. I called the cops. Again. They came, took my statement, but by the time they arrived, he was gone. The officer sighed, said, "Look, unless he threatens you or comes inside again, we can't do much." Next morning, someone had keyed my car. Deep scratches down both sides. My tires were fine, but the message was clear. I didn't have proof. But I didn't need it. My boss agreed to get me a rental while we parked my car in a garage for a few days. He also paid for a private investigator to look into the guy. Said he wanted to build a case in case it ever went to court. The PI got back to us in 3 days. Turns out the guy had a record. Nothing major, disturbing the peace, small vandalism charges, resisting arrest a couple times. But it painted a picture. Apparently, this wasn't the first store he'd pulled something like this at. 2 years ago, a hardware store across town had to get a restraining order after he assaulted a cashier over a busted drill. The PI said he probably targets small businesses because they're easier to intimidate. I felt sick. My boss was furious. Said, "We'll take him down the right way. Build the case." We gathered everything: security footage, audio from his rant, screenshots of fake reviews, timestamps on all the complaints. The investigators started connecting the dots. We didn't hear from him again for a week. Then the glass on our front door was shattered one night. Nothing was stolen. Just a rock through the window. It was getting personal now. After the front door was smashed, we didn't even pretend things were okay anymore. My boss installed a steel roll-down security gate. Ugly as hell, but effective. We stopped taking in walk-ins without ID. I carried pepper spray on me every day, just in case. The guy had gone quiet, but not gone. That much was obvious. One day, about 2 weeks after the last incident, a young woman came into the store. Mid-20s maybe. Nice coat, bright smile, clipboard in hand. "Hi, I'm here on behalf of Oakwood Surveys. Just asking local businesses a few quick questions for a community program." I was already suspicious, but I didn't want to be rude. "What kind of questions?" "Just about store traffic, your busiest hours, customer satisfaction," she said. "Helps the city decide where to place new infrastructure." That made no sense. "Which city department?" I asked. She paused. "Public projects?" That was all I needed. I asked her to wait a second while I grabbed my manager. I walked into the back and called our private investigator. He told me to stall her. I went back out and said, "Hey, my boss is on the way. Should be here in a few minutes if you don't mind waiting." She got nervous. Said she had to go. Left quick. I watched the camera feed afterward and caught her walking down the street, where she got into the same Dodge Charger from before. We now had him trying to get people inside the store. Pretending to be something else. Just to gather, what? Info? Find a weakness? The PI said this was escalating into full harassment and possibly stalking. He pulled some favors and managed to contact someone at the local DA's office. We handed over all the documentation. Things were quiet again for a while. Too quiet. Then one afternoon, someone placed an online order through our website for a refurbished iPad. Nothing weird about that. We processed it, packed it up, and shipped it. 3 days later, we get a furious email. Received product. Broken. Will sue if not refunded. Fraud store. Attached was a photo of a different iPad, clearly older, with a smashed screen. We checked the serial number. Didn't match what we sent. We pulled up the shipping label. It was sent to a PO box on the south side, registered under a fake name, but the security footage from the shipping hub showed someone we couldn't quite identify picking it up. Still, it felt too familiar. It wasn't until 2 more orders came in, same process, same threats, same pattern, that we figured it out. He was trying to create a paper trail. He wanted it to look like we were selling broken products and refusing to refund them. He was manufacturing a scam. My boss lost it. This guy's playing long game sabotage. We made a plan. We sent the next device with a GPS tracker hidden in the box. Legal gray area, but our lawyer said if it was for theft prevention, we'd probably be fine. Sure enough, the customer claimed the device was broken. Same fake threats, same pictures of another cracked tablet. We tracked the package. It pinged at 3 locations in 2 days. One of them? His apartment complex. Now we had location data to tie him to a fraud attempt. We handed everything to the investigator. He said it was enough to push for charges, maybe not jail time yet, but definitely enough for a restraining order, maybe even civil action. That's when the biggest twist hit. One morning, I came into work and my boss was already there, waiting. "You need to see this," he said. He had a stack of papers on the counter, letters. Real, printed letters mailed to our store. Each one was addressed from different people. Some in-state, some out of state. All with nearly identical wording. They were complaints. About me. Accusing me of everything from racism to physical threats, theft, even harassment. None of them made sense. Some described details that didn't exist, like me locking a customer in a bathroom, which we don't even have. One said I forced a woman to kiss me to get a refund. All lies. Obvious, made up, crazy lies. We found out the addresses were either fake or linked to empty lots, businesses that had closed years ago, or random abandoned buildings. He was trying to ruin me, not just the store. He wanted my name flagged, blacklisted, maybe even arrested. This had gone way past angry customer territory. This was personal, obsessive, calculated. The private investigator called it textbook targeted character defamation. We filed for an emergency restraining order. Judge approved it based on everything we'd collected. But serving the guy was another story. Turns out he'd vanished. Evicted from his last known address. Phone numbers disconnected. No trace at work. Because he didn't have one. The PI found out he was living in his car. Or couch surfing with some buddies who owed him favors. That night, I got home late and checked my mail. In it, a plain white envelope. No return address. Inside was a blurry printout of a photo. It was me, standing outside my apartment. On my phone, taking out trash. Someone had followed me. I stared at that photo for a long time. My hands were shaking. It wasn't just that someone had followed me. It was that they wanted me to know. This wasn't a warning. It was a message. I didn't sleep that night. Every sound outside, I'd peek through the blinds. I moved furniture in front of the door. I even considered sleeping with a knife under my pillow. Next morning, I showed the photo to the cops. They took it seriously now. Said it was a credible threat. I gave them everything again: footage, photos, the letters, the fake reviews, the GPS tracker evidence, even the phony iPad complaints. They opened an official investigation. That same week, we caught a break. One of the burner email addresses he used to file a fake complaint with the Better Business Bureau had been reused. Stupid move. He emailed another store, similar scam, and forgot to switch accounts. That store contacted the BBB. BBB reached out to us after matching the wording. We got the IP address. Our PI traced the IP to a public library outside Joliet. My boss made a bold call. He offered the PI a bonus to track him in person. A week later, he got him. Found him living in a storage unit behind a gas station, using the library for Wi-Fi. Still driving the same Dodge Charger, just sleeping in it now when he wasn't couch surfing. We told the police. They moved in fast. But here's the twist: when they picked him up, he had a notebook with him. One of those spiral-bound kinds. Inside it were pages and pages of notes. About us. About me. About our customers. Our routines. He had sketches of the store layout, a rough map of my apartment building, and a list of revenge ideas written like bullet points. One read, slash tires. Light fire in dumpster. Frame for theft. Plant drugs? Another one just said, make them scared. Then laugh. It was all the proof anyone needed. The DA charged him with stalking, criminal harassment, property damage, attempted fraud, and making threats. It wasn't enough for serious prison time, but it was enough for jail, mental evaluation, and probation. He pled guilty. Tried to spin it like he was mentally unwell. Said he had a breakdown. Judge didn't care. She called it targeted and dangerous. Gave him 3 years in county jail and 5 years of no-contact orders for everyone involved, including me. But here's where things get messy on my end. During all of this, I was angry. And I made a mistake too. Before the arrest, after the fake BBB letter and the mail photo, I snapped one day and drove by the library where we suspected he was using the internet. I parked. Waited. When I saw him, I followed him in. Quiet. Just wanted to look him in the face. He noticed. I don't know if it was fear, paranoia, or just his usual behavior, but he went nuts right there in the computer room. Started yelling that I was stalking him, that I was harassing him. Security got called. I left before it got worse, but the cameras had my face. The cops later found out. Technically, I violated the no-contact boundary before it was legally active. That mistake cost me. His court-appointed lawyer tried to flip the narrative. Tried to say I escalated things. Tried to paint me as the aggressor. It didn't work, not fully, but it complicated the case. The judge gave me a formal warning. Said my actions were reckless and that I was lucky it didn't backfire worse. My boss wasn't happy either. You nearly gave him leverage, he said. We were winning. He was right. I'd almost blown months of work out of rage. But even after the trial, even after the restraining orders, something didn't sit right with me. I couldn't shake it. He was in jail, yeah, but 3 years isn't forever. And if he spent those years getting angrier, what then? So I did something I didn't tell anyone about. I sent copies of his scam letters, fake reviews, and video rants to every business association in Chicago. I included court records. Told them who he was, what he did. Made sure he couldn't just walk into another store after release and do this again. I didn't stop there. I found the hardware store he'd messed with 2 years ago. Told them he was finally charged. They thanked me. I found his ex-landlord. Sent them proof he damaged their property. They filed their own small claim suit. I found his cousin's name through court filings. Turned out he was crashing on that cousin's couch for months. I made sure the cousin got every fake name he used for scams. Cousin kicked him out. Sent a furious email saying I should have known he was a con. I wanted him marked, not just locked up. I wanted people to know. So yeah, maybe I made a mistake in that library. But in the end, I made damn sure he'd carry the consequences everywhere he went. As for me, I don't trust people the same way anymore. I keep cameras in my apartment now. I check the locks 3 times a night. But I'm not scared. I'm careful. And if he ever thinks about coming back, I'm ready.